Good morning, I am Devasena. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about respiratory system. This topic is present in the subject Medical Electronics. Respiratory system. The human respiratory system is a series of organs responsible for taking in oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide. The primary organs of the respiratory system are the lungs, which carry out this exchange of gases as we breathe. The respiratory system supplies the oxygen needed by body cells and carries off the carbon dioxide waste. Let's see the animation of an air flow to the lungs and from the lungs. We are inhaling. During the inhalation, air is flowing to the lungs. This passes, and during the exhalation, the carbon dioxide from the lungs is expelled out. This is represented in this animation. Now let's see the animation of the lungs. So this is the cross-sectional view of the lungs. Need for the lungs function. The lungs work with the circulatory system to pump oxygen-rich blood to all cells in the body. The blood then collects carbon dioxide and other waste products and transports them back to the lungs, where they are pumped out of the body when we exhale. The human body needs oxygen to sustain itself. After only about 5 minutes without oxygen, brain cells begin dying, which can lead to brain damage and ultimately death. Let's see the function of the respiratory system. As we breathe, oxygen enters the nose or mouth and passes the sinuses, which are hollow spaces in the skull that help regulate the temperature and humidity of the air we breathe. From the sinus, air passes through the trachea, also called the windpipe, and into the bronchial tubes, which are the two tubes that carry air into each lung. Each one is called a bronchus. The bronchial tubes are lined with tiny hairs called cilia that move back and forth, carrying mucus up and out. Mucus is a sticky fluid that collects dust, germs, and other matter that has invaded the lungs and is what we expel when we sneeze and cough. Let's see the respiratory system parts. The respiratory system starts from the sinuses. It is indicated here. The sinuses is placed near the forehead. Followed by the sinus, we have pharynx. After the pharynx, we have larynx. Then we have trachea. Followed the trachea, the bronchial tube. The bronchial tube ends with the bronchiole, and we have alveoli. Let's see bronchial tube. The bronchial tubes split up again to carry air into the lobes of each lung. The right lung has 3 lobes while the left lung has only 2 to accommodate room for the heart. The lobes are filled with small spongy sacs called alveoli, which is where the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide occurs. Alveolar walls. The alveolar walls are extremely thin, that is about 0.2 micrometers, and are composed of a single layer of tissues called epithelial cells and tiny blood vessels called pulmonary capillaries. Blood in the capillaries picks up oxygen and drops of carbon dioxide. The oxygenated blood then makes its way to the pulmonary vein. This vein carries oxygen-rich blood to the left side of the heart, where it is pumped to all parts of the body. The carbon dioxide in the blood left behind moves into the alveoli and gets expelled in our exhaled breath. This is the cross-sectional view of the alveoli. Here we have pulmonary artery which carries impure blood from the heart. The blood gets purified in the lungs through the gas exchange, where the carbon dioxide present in the impure blood gets exchanged in the lungs, and oxygen that is present in the lungs gets transferred to the blood. The oxygen-rich blood is carried by the pulmonary vein and it supplies the pure blood to the heart. Let's see a small animation of gas exchange. Here, hemoglobin has lower affinity for carbon dioxide in the higher pH environment of the healthy oxygenated alveoli. Hemoglobin has lower affinity for oxygen in the lower pH environment of working muscle. Exchange of gas takes place. During this, the blood gets purified and the carbon dioxide that is present in the impure blood gets transferred to the alveoli. This is represented here. Let's see another animation of gas exchange. The impure blood from the heart is carried by the pulmonary artery that consists of a rich amount of carbon dioxide that is passed to the lungs. In the lungs, sufficient amount of oxygen is present. The transfer of gas takes place in the lungs and the carbon dioxide that is present in the blood gets removed and the blood gets purified by the oxygen. Now the blood consists of rich amount of oxygen that is carried by the pulmonary vein. This is represented here. See the function of the diaphragm. The diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle at the bottom of the lungs, controls breathing and separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. When the air gets taken in, the diaphragm tightens and moves downward, making more space for the lungs to fill with air and expand. During exhalation, the diaphragm expands and compresses the lungs, forcing air out. Let's see the diaphragm's function. The contraction and expansion of the diaphragm is indicated in this animation. Let's see lungs self-cleaning process. The alveoli stay partly like a balloon even when you exhale air. Your lungs make a fluid called surfactant to help them stay open. Surfactant also contains fatty proteins that help keep the lungs healthy. The lungs are self-cleaning. They make mucus to trap germs and particles. The mucus is then swept up by cilia, small hairs that line the airways. Normally, you swallow this mucus without noticing. If you have a respiratory illness, your lungs make too much mucus. The alveoli also contain immune cells called macrophages. These cells eat germs and irritants before they can cause infection in your lungs.